welcoming you all. Public speaking is not my forte. Fortunately, this is a very close-knit group of very intellectual people. And I'm going to just take 3 to 4 minutes of your time. And gentlemen, I would be ignoring you, and I'll explain later why, for good cause. And the highlight in this room are going to be the ladies. To begin with, our star of the evening, Ms. Manral. A 70s kid like me, and we're very proud to have her here. I think she's an icon of, and I've made a few notes, so don't mind me doing that, because it's quite a bit to remember. If I could remember more, I could be in some of the business and hospitality. I think apart from a novelist, apart from starting an initiative which was doing a lot of work for disaster relief, etc., she's also a doting mother. I think she has made a few trade-offs in her life to ensure that she's been good at that. Written a few interesting novels, books. I think she's been a columnist as well. We're very proud to have you with us, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me.
We also have, in no particular order, we have, everybody knows Dr. Vedula. Classical vocalist, हिंदी प्रोफेसर जिनके बगल में खड़े रहो तो ट्रांसलेटर की जरूरत पड़ती है. Just now she was telling something. एक तो इसके ऊपर खड़ी हो गई थी. So I was having further inferiority complex. आप पहले नीचे उतरिए और थोड़ा हिंदी में बोलिए. Because our Hindi is like, I had a problem when I was posted at Lucknow, Bangalore के बाद East. I had the same problem. A police officer walked up to me and said, Rajdut aa rahe hain. For me, Rajdut is a motorbike. I understand कि he meant an ambassador. So ये Rajdut हैं, हिंदी भाषा है. We have very, very interesting Dr. Garg here, psychologist, sorry, if I knew the difference. And she's been into counseling, she's a socialite. That's an easy introduction for everybody. Socialite, everybody's a socialite. And a very, very active face in this forum. And a dear friend of the hotel now for us. She's become a moving face. My favorite, my senior director here, Mrs. Ratnamala Swain. Mrs. Swain is, the bulk of construction business in Odisha. Apart from civil engineering, which is her core profession, she's a translator of many important texts. She's a poet. She gives me books that I try to look very intelligent. Man, this is really nice. I read it. I actually take them and give them to my mother-in-law. So that I can say something intelligent back to her. But I think her name to fame comes from the fact that for a woman entrepreneur to become an A1 contractor in the area of in the field of civil engineering, and then to be such a large name in the construction business in Odisha, hats off to her. Following the prodigy in no particular order, sitting behind is Anisha Swain. This young girl, I know her as when she was a student when I came to the city 4 years back. Went on she's a conservation architect. जहाँ तक मैं जानता था, she was into old monuments, and then she went off to America to study. I thought, ठीक है, ma'am has sent both her kids over to US. She came back. Then she started going around the water bodies of Bhubaneswar. We thought, ठीक है, शौक है. And then we know that this girl has taken active interest in sort of reviving the good old water bodies of Old Town Bhubaneswar.
Yes.
And bringing them back. And her book, Holy Waters, is a mighty powerful. We're very proud to have you with us, Anisha. अब मैं भूल रहा हूँ और कौन है. So, okay. पीछे भी कुछ लिखा. We have the women's rights activist face of Odisha. We have Mrs. Namrata Chadha. Ma'am, I hope I got that right. जहाँ तक हम थोड़ा बहुत मुझे पता है, well-known television face, the face of women's rights in Odisha, ये तो बाहर पता था.
टेलीविजन फेस नहीं, असल में.
Even better. And we are very proud. The men in the room are very scared of having you around. And I think somebody who's the reason why we have all got together here, the PKF or Prabha Khaitan Foundation, I think somebody who started this entire movement in creating the foundation back in 1980s. They're Calcutta-based, but do great work in the space of literature. We are very, very grateful for their association with us. And now I'll quickly come to why I ignored the gentlemen in this room who are looking at me with a lot of questions on their faces. With due apologies, we'll be very proud to know that, as a part of Indian Hotels Company Limited, Taj Group of Hotels mostly कहते हैं. Taj is actually one of our brands. That's a flagship brand, so people call us and बोल भी चलो ठीक है. But we are Vivanta. Vivanta is the youngest and the most global brand of Taj. And Vivanta is such a hotel where you're supposed to get a global feel if you were to be blindfolded and brought into a Vivanta hotel and the blindfold was to be removed. You're supposed to be guessing very hard where you might be. It's hyper global. We also have hyper local brands such as Selections, etc. Now, why I make a mention of this is not to make a pitch for my brand, but just to let you know that Vivas, which is written over there, is a women-centric brand initiative of Vivanta. Through Vivas, we celebrate our mothers, our sisters, our friends, the women of India, who make India what it is today. A superpower. Very, very, apt for this hotel because the lady who walked me through this construction site, and this hotel has been successful for the last 4 years, is sitting here. All the construction dust from our site has gone into making her throat really bad. As a result, she can't speak today, which makes the people in her office very happy. Aji ma'am gaadi de bhi. Because when she starts off, it's pure Barampur. But yes, we wish her a speedy recovery. And I think this is the right moment for me to have looked at this from a Viva's point of view. So all the Vivas in the room and all the great gentlemen who are pillars of support behind some of the other Viva in your life, welcome. Have a great evening. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, in association with hospitality and venue partner Taj Vivanta, I, Dr. Vedula Ramalakshmi, Ehsaas Women of Bhubaneswar, I'm delighted to welcome you all to the right circle and evening celebrating the beauty and power of literature. It's truly a pleasure to have such a distinguished and enthusiastic audience gathered here today. I extend my warm welcome to this temple city Bhubaneswar, author of the evening, author of 17 books, a journalist, podcaster, and a storyteller like no other than Kiran Manral. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, ma'am. We also congratulate you on your book, The Moon and the Lining of Her Skin. May we have a big round of applause for our Today's event is in support of Ehsaas Women of Bhubaneswar, including myself and Dr. Nidhi, who is also the conversationalist for today's evening, and Shri Cement is the gracious patron of today's event. Before an interesting and most awaited conversation for the evening unfolds, allow me to introduce in just about Prabha Khaitan Foundation. Prabha Khaitan Foundation is a Kolkata-based NGO dedicated to socio-cultural welfare and humanitarian causes. Based in Kolkata, the foundation is dedicated to promoting performing arts, culture, education, literature, gender equality, and women empowerment. It collaborates with committed individuals, like-minded institutions to implement cultural, educational, literary, and social welfare projects in India. We have currently present in 50+ cities in India and overseas. We are elated to share that three-time Grammy Award winner Ricky Cage, the man behind the anthem and signature caller tune of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, has curated 12 amazing musical pieces to score across video invites of events and social media platforms, as well as for pan-India and overseas communications. To create awareness in the community, we uphold one pressing social issue every month. The music of the month for February is Harmony in Contrast. A melodic bansuri meets electric guitars, perfectly center-pointing each other, like a polite discussion filled with mutual respect. Now it's my absolute privilege to introduce our guest author of today's evening, Kiran Manral. Kiran Manral published her first book, The Reluctant Detective, in 2011. She has published a total of 17 books across generations. Her books include romance and chick literature. She is also a podcaster, hosting Chasing Creativity and co-hosting Not Your Auntie. Two popular podcasts available across all audio platforms and YouTube too. She was previously a journalist working with the Lal Street Journalist Group, the Times of India, the India Today Group, and she has spoken at most of the major literature festivals in India, as well as at educational institutions like IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Bhubaneswar, IIT Roorkee, MET Mumbai, to name a few, and other events also. She's a TEDx speaker and was a mentor with Vital Voices Global Morning Walk. She was awarded the Women Achievers Award by the Young Environmentalist Association in 2013. The Indian Council of UN Relations, supported by the Minister of Women and Child Development, Government of India, awarded her the International Women's Award in the year 2018 for excellence in the field of writing. She was named as one of the Women Innovator 1,000 Women of Asia, 1,000 Women of Asia in 2021. And the list is very long and it goes on and on and on and on. She will be in conversation with Dr. Nidhi Garg. She is a counseling psychologist by profession and Ehsaas Women of Bhubaneswar. Without any further delay, I urge you all to sit back and would like to give it to Ms. Garg to kickstart today's conversation. I request all of you to kindly put your mobiles on silent mode. Thank you so very much, Nidhi.
Who have taken up time on in a weekday and have come for this conversation. We would like to know more about Kiranji. So Kiranji was firstly into advertisement, then she got into blogging, then she was a mom, and then she became the writer. So in playing so many roles, which is your favorite role?
Thank you so much, Dr. Nidhi, for that very interesting question. And thank you everyone for taking time out on a Monday evening. I'm elated to see a full house. Monday evening is not a time when I think people generally come out to listen to writers speak, but here you are. And I'll try to keep it as entertaining as possible. What is my favorite role? I would like to say mother, because for the rest of the roles you prepare in a certain way. You go to college, you learn copywriting, you train in journalism, you do a mass media course, you study, but mothering and parenthood, nobody teaches you. You just hit the ground running, you make mistakes, you go with your instincts, you're always second guessing yourselves, and at the end of the day, if the child is alive and breathing, you're like happy you haven't messed up that day. So I think I got my second wind, so to speak, of a career when I had my son. So I think motherhood, it may not be a politically correct answer in the sense people might say, you have to talk of your career and you have to talk of the profession and whatever. Maybe journalism was exciting for you. You did so many challenging stories. You covered business, you covered civic issues, I covered crime, I did all those things, but I think nothing was as challenging as being a mother.
Oh, great. So you also have books on parenting. So there are almost 4 books that you have written on parenting. I would like you to give one thing that you think is very important for the new age parents.
I think we keep reinventing the wheel as far as parenting goes. There was Benjamin Spock, there's Irma Bombeck, there are so many parenting gurus. There's no advice I think anybody can give any parent. They are parents here. We can't. Each child is different.
Like if I take back to myself, my mother was a housewife, but I truly think I'm here because of her. But now women are more on the working side, and they have to manage and they have a variety of roles like you. So there has to be something that from your own experience that you could give it.
I think my son is 20 now, 21. So he's not a kid anymore. But what I see in today's young parents is because I think they're very focused on that child, they're very stressed out about overscheduling the child. So I was a bit of a pariah in mommy circles because he had unstructured playtime. It was like go and play. There is time for you. There are 2 hours where you're not supposed to do anything. You're just supposed to go and play. I think I speak about it in my TED talk as well. Boredom. Letting a child get bored, letting a child explore, letting a child experiment, not being scheduled all the time, entertaining himself, herself. I think that's very important, and that's where we forget these days. We're so keen to fill every spare moment of the child. We don't allow the child the luxury of getting bored. And there are so many devices. The moment the child is bored, iPad they do. Kuch phone pakda do, kuch pakda do. Let the child be bored. That's the only way creativity will develop. So that's the only thing I think is we're losing out as parents. Otherwise, today's parents are super on the ball. They are doing everything they can to make their children well-rounded, in terms of physical activities, in terms of skills, in terms of everything. The young kids are coding, young kids are learning multiple languages, Mandarin, French, etc. But they don't have the luxury of being bored.
Right. And that reminds me of your TEDx talk. Boredom leads to creativity and innovation. And there was one more TEDx which you did was surrendering to the muse. Give us a small insight over your TEDx talks.
So, boredom I just spoke about. I think all of us come from a generation in this room, at least, except for you, Nidhi, or I think the baby in the room, and Anisha is the baby in the room. But I think we all came from a generation where summer vacations were getting bored. Going to your parents, Nanihal, or going back to the village and just getting bored throughout the day, playing, putting up plays, doing writing, doing just rotting the day away. So that boredom, I felt was something that with the overscheduledness of today's life is you lose out on. And where does the mind it's a very interesting thing about creativity. You put in the work, you put in the information, but in that space between activity and non-activity is where connections are made. And creativity comes when you connect to diverse things, to very non-connected things, right? So
Basically, you don't let yourself get bored. You find something.
yeah, if you look at the major inventions, if you look at the carbon, the structure of the carbon atom, that came in a dream. So the mind is working on it, and then it comes when the mind is at rest. If you look at the displacement of water, eureka, the eureka moment. I don't recommend anybody jumps up into the bathtub and runs around naked. But that also came in a moment of absolute idleness and stillness where you're just, making these random connections in your head. Boredom. Agatha Christie very famously said the best time for doing thinking about plot is when you're doing the dishes. Every creative person is known for taking long walks. Long walks in nature where the body goes on automatic, but the mind is wandering. So when your body is working automatically, for me it's the gym. So when my 1.5 hours at the gym every day is my time when my body is getting stressed out, but my mind is free to make associations. So I think that space is very important, that space when nothing is happening in your mind and your body is fully active, running around, playing, what we did in our childhood. That is very important. So that was basically what my talk was about. Just let yourself get bored. And that's how creativity will spring. And about surrendering to the muse, I think a lot of creativity gets a bad rep because you think, you have to wait for inspiration to strike. You're an author. We have other authors here. You cannot have the luxury of waiting for inspiration to strike. You have to sit down and do the work. You have to be disciplined. You cannot, a surgeon can't say that, I'm not in the mood for doing surgery today. Inspiration is not striking me. If you call yourself a writer, you call yourself a creative person, you put in a riyas every day, no matter what comes. If a singer doesn't do her riyas one day, she will know. 2 days, a guru will know. 3 days, the audience will know. Same with a writer, same with a painter. You put in your riyas. So surrendering to the muse is putting in your work every single day. The inspiration will come, but you can't wait for it. You have to keep at it every single day. Even if there are some days, I'm sure all of us have experienced it, you sit in front of the work and, God forgive me, the max I've done is I've changed fonts and changed commas and made italics, but I'm at the work. You don't leave it. So that was the gist of my talk, that you show up at your desk or at your workplace or with your equipment, if you're in sports or whatever, you show up every single day. The inspiration will come. You don't wait for it.
I truly believe in it, and I think I always make those small steps to big victories. As you mentioned, there are so many authors here. What skills do you think we need to work on or attain as budding authors to upscale yourself?
That's a very interesting question because I am going to set aside the given of talent. There has to be a certain base of talent that you bring to the table before you get into writing. Without that base of talent, you're not going to be able to do any writing. We're speaking specifically of authors here, but I think it's applicable to any creative profession. After that, then you skill yourself. By skilling yourself, you can formally skill yourself. You can learn, you can do workshops, you can do an MFA, you can do whatever. You can mentor an established author. That is something you can do. Or you can do it the hard way, which is the way I did it, which was reading incessantly. And I keep saying, I see a lot of new authors, and I love, they're lovely in their confidence, and I love how strong they are in their opinions. But I am of the opinion, they have said, some of them have said it to me, I don't read because I don't want my style to get influenced. And that hurts me because I think that unless you have read across, how do you know what works for you and what doesn't? There is a spectrum of giants out there in the field of literature that you can draw from. There is good writing, there's bad writing, there's terribly mediocre writing. There's a spectrum, but unless you have read across everything, how do you know what will work for you, what will not, where do you stand? So my thing is always read as much as you can. discard what doesn't appeal to you. But don't dismiss reading so that you feel you shouldn't be influenced. Please be influenced. You will be influenced for the first book, the second book, after that you will find your voice. I have been guilty of that. My first book was, I have been accused of writing like P.G. Buttas for my first book, The Reluctant Detective, and my voice was like that. It was humorous. My book on parenting was Starving Kids. They called me the Irma Bombeck of Bombay. So I was influenced, but eventually that filtered out, and now I have my own voice. But, you have to arrive at that process. That is a process. There are no shortcuts to it.
So, in this generation of AI, there's so many authors, So, how do you look at AI as a supporter or a threat?
You can make it what you choose. So, there's always going to be technological advancements. There was, there were sculptures first, there were paintings done by hand, then there was photography, then there's computer, which does artwork, and now, of course, we have AI. First, you physically had to go to the libraries and sit down with tomes and tomes of books to do research, and now you have Google. You have everything at your fingertips. So, is it a threat? Is it an ally? It depends on what you make of it. There are stairs and there are escalators. Use it how you may. At the end of the day, AI is scary because it can improve on itself. Eventually, the way it is going on, I keep hearing doomsday predictions of 2032 was one, then 2050 something, singularity is going to come upon us and whatever. I don't know what happens when singularity comes and the robots start replicating and taking over. We'll have Terminator and back again. But having said that, it can only take what humans have done, right, so far. It can only build on what is already available. There's nothing original that comes out of it as of now. Eventually, I don't know what will happen, and I think we need to learn to work with it rather than fight it, because there's no fighting it. You either accept it and work with it and do your work so that AI cannot do your work.
Yes. That's amazing. And you're a women author, and there's so many other women authors we have here. Do you think it's more challenging for the women authors? Do men have the privilege?
I think the question just answered itself. So there has been research that I'm not going to be bashed because men are allies, and without the support of my husband funding me, I wouldn't be able to write books. But having said that, yes, there is a privilege. We have The Remains of the Day. The name of the author is escaping me right now. Anyway, old age Alzheimer's. But he, very famously in an interview, he said, I wrote this book in a marathon sprint where I locked myself in a room and I emerged only to have lunch and dinner. And I'm like, and my wife brought my lunch and dinner to me, and she took care of everything while I was doing this book. And I said, I need a wife. I need the wife. I'm the wife here managing tiffin and kitchen and dabba and my own other work and the groceries and the cook and everything. That uninterrupted space of working and creating is a luxury that most women writers don't get, unfortunately. I did 2 books. One was Rising, 30 Women Who Changed India. And the second was Rising 2.0, 20 More Women Who Changed India. And there were 3 women authors I featured. One was Kamala Das, Mahashweta Devi, and Kiran Desai. And from their journey, I learned nothing much has changed to my journey. They were still writing in the interludes of being wife, mother, and managing domesticity and managing their work. Kamala Das would write in the night after all the chores were done at the dining table until the milkman came in the morning. Kiran Desai would write in the morning after her children went left for school till the children came back. For years, her children did not know that their mother was a writer. And during the summer vacation, she didn't write at all. Mahashweta Devi had a very tumultuous personal life because she wrote, she wanted to travel, she went to the interiors to find out about the Ratnamala Lakshmi Bai, and this was very unconventional for the times for a young woman or young lady to abandon husband and family to go wandering around in the interiors of Madhya Pradesh to hear oral tellings about the queen, warrior queen. She had a divorce, then she had another failed marriage. I mean, these are the sacrifices women make in order to be writing. And then what happens is there has been research that says women authors are featured X percentage less in reviews in most publications. If you notice, we have women authors who are winning wonderful prizes. The Booker is going to them, the Nobel went to them. We have them getting that, but in terms of space that is given in publications, in media, there are quantifiable research studies which give you statistics. I don't have them off the tip of my tongue right now, but male authors get featured more. If a woman author writes about a certain topic, it is seen as domestic and interior and romanticizing. If a male author writes about the same topic, it is seen as intense and a statement of the state of society. So the same subject, I mean, we've had instances where J.K. Rowling took up an androgynous name to write Harry Potter. She was not Joanne Rowling, she became J.K. Rowling. We had the Bronte sisters, Emily Bronte who wrote as Cara Bell. We have so many, George Eliot, for example, again another woman author who took up a male name. So there is that bias. I hope this bias is lessened now. We are reading a lot of women authors, but I would say please read more women authors because we struggle a little harder to get our books out.
Absolutely. There's so many roles that they play, and there's so many unsaid work that the women keep doing, work, duties, responsibilities that don't come in the words, but they come in actions. And being a part of the household, they are just doing it continuously, which is unacclaimed and unrecognized. But if they stop a day, then you get to know that yes, it's not happening. Well, so you have been writing on so many genres, psychological thrillers, humor, parenting. Which genre challenges you the most? And how has the shift been, from humor to thriller and then to parenting? So, how that shift works for you?
I think I'm very easily bored. So writing in the same thing over and over again, I admire authors who can do that. There are some who will write only mythological fiction, some who will write only thrillers, some who will write only romances. And I really envy them the ability to not get bored of what they're writing, because I don't read like that too. I read across genres. My favorites are Stephen King, P.G. Wodehouse, Isaac Asimov, Terry Pratchett, Anuradha Roy, and then there will be Barbara Kingsolver. So it's across the spectrum. So I read very diverse kind of writing, and I think that sort of reflects in the way I write. Also, it would be easier for my publishers if I stuck to a genre because it's easy to market you. And it's easy for the reader also because then suddenly they will read a kitty party murder and go ha and suddenly there's a moon in the lightning sun and there are like demons out there and what is happening? So they don't know what to expect next. What is the most difficult to write? I think it's very difficult to make people laugh. It's easier to make people cry, it's very difficult to make people laugh. So writing something funny, which makes me laugh, that is mine. If I've written it and I've read it after a while and I'm laughing, then okay, I've done my job. So that's challenging for me.
Coming to the book that we have here, The Moon in the Lining of Her Skin. How poetic in the book is, so what made the title of the book so poetic?
Neruda.
Huh?
It's a Neruda quote. Like a fire burning within, the moon lives in the lining of your skin. It's from one of his love sonnets. And because I was writing about a divine being who has, you've read the book, so you know, and I won't give it away for the rest of you. These are unearthly beings and they have a certain glow in them. So I thought because it fitted in very well with the women in the book, and that's how I used it.
Okay, great. So we have three main characters, protagonists of the book. So Noor's character, how did it came into existence? Was it that Noor came to you before, or was it the plot? How did this journey begin?
I think I do a lot of aimless reading, which is like, you fall into the rabbit hole of some topic and then you keep going deeper, deeper, deeper. The internet is a wonderful place to use time doing that. So I was reading a book by Shiny Anthony. No, I wasn't reading the book, we were talking about it, Lilith. And that fascinated me. Lilith is the first wife of Adam. And she was cast out from Eden because she refused to lie beneath Adam. And she said, I'm not subservient to him. And she became a demoness for whatever reason. She was the first feminist, I would say. And then after that, Eve came along, who was the good wife and who bore children and perpetuated the human race, etc. And I was reading that, and then reading about all the stories through the biblical stories and the Sumerian, Mesopotamian myths and mythologies, the story of Gilgamesh, and all the stories about angels who came down to earth, succumbed to the lust of women, and became fallen angels. These all male angels. And the thought came to me, no female angel ever fell. No female angel ever came to earth and fell in lust with a man and decided to give up immortality. That's how he came about.
Okay, great. So your writing often weaves emotions into evocative imagery. Was this book's lyrical style intentional from the start, or did it evolve organically?
I think the premise lent itself to that style, because if I'm writing about a fallen angel, I cannot be cut and dried, right? So when I start with that character who is coming from time immemorial, how do I bring her into modern day life? I cannot write about her in more contemporary style. I have to make it a little lyrical. So I think the character lent itself to the style.
And in this book, there was one particular, like I was discussing you also, that one incident where you spoke about, where you wrote about Gulab, and she forgets her name. And that is where you try to tell that she forgets her identity. How did this strike to you? I was truly touched when I read those lines, that today I am known for the Nidhi. Anyone calls Nidhi, and the moment I turn around, Kiran, Namrata, all of us. So how did this thing strike for you?
You're a psychologist. You know how the mind works. The mind can shut off. When there is trauma, there is such deep trauma, and you disassociate yourself with that trauma, with the person who has experienced that trauma, and you shut everything out that is associated with those memories, that time, your actions. You do not agree with Gulab has done something pretty horrific. For that, we'll have to read the book to find out. So she is trying to disassociate herself with what she has done. She knows she has done something terrible. She knows she has lived through something terrible. And she knows this is not normal. And she wants to leave that person behind and find a new person. So in her mind, she is, okay, that phase of me is over. I'm no longer that person. Now I need to find a new person and become a new person. So that, I think, was what happened to her.
Because when he even says, and she tries to recall her name, she's unable to do so. Yeah, I totally agree how you shift, and we all have social selves. what we are at home and what we are at apart is much different. So what, the different roles that we play, there's a social self that we are all masked people. We all have our masks on. So yeah, so relationships, love, and longing play a crucial role in this book. How did you navigate writing complex human emotions while keeping the story engaging?
It's a lovely question, but it has a very prosaic answer. It's my job. As a storyteller, I should be able to do this as a given. And I should be able to write something that touches the reader, engages the reader, makes the reader emotional. Why will a reader stay with me for so many hundreds of pages if they are not emotionally drawn, if there's no connect to the characters? And for that, I have to feel intensely for the characters. I have to put myself in the character's shoes and experience the emotions they are going through and write from that perspective. If I'm writing from from an observer's perspective, I may not be able to get that same depth of emotion. In a book that I had written called The Face at the Window, which was my first book into what I call my noir books, my dark books. And that's about an elderly Anglo-Indian retired school teacher who lives in the foothills of the Himalayas, and The Face at the Window, as the title gives it away, it's a book about a haunting. While writing that book, she's 76, 78, I felt my knees paining, my body giving way, me feeling the aches and pains of, what she must experience going down the stairs, feeling her, so I had immersed myself so much while writing that character that I was feeling all what her body must be going through, her aging body. So I think that came out, and I think similarly with the characters here, when Rani is possessed, there's a character called Rani who is possessed by an invisible entity. She is torn between the need to find freedom, and she's torn between, absolute surrender to it because she feels incapable of resisting or fighting it off. It's too powerful. So that sense of helplessness is something that I think I tried to experience and bring across. So I think unless you put yourself in your character's shoes, it's very difficult to bring about that kind of identification.
Your writing often weaves emotions into evocative. So this book's setting feels almost like a character itself. How did you use the atmosphere to enhance the emotional depth of the story?
Setting is very important. Setting is 90% of your job. If you're writing a horror book and you set it in a nice, sunny, bright, cheerful place, you're going to have to work that much harder to scare the pants off your readers or your viewers. So you cleverly use setting to do your work for you.
And actually, when you go through the book and you read, you can actually imagine each and everything. And the way it has been described, every bit of it, every little detail, that was amazing. Yeah. Did you base any character or incident on real life experiences, or was this story purely fictional?
I would like to say I have, but unfortunately I don't know any fallen angels. I don't know anyone who's been possessed by a jinn. And I don't know anybody who has killed a parent. So it's all fiction. But I think you draw upon what you read in the newspapers and the horrific incidents that keep coming across. So you do read about possessions. You do read about, parents who have been abusive to their children in very solid ways. And so I think it all distills down. So somewhere or the other, all that comes out in the writing.
The book has been written in a very introspective way. So was it cathartic for you to write this book?
Cathartic is not a word I would say, because it does weigh you down. Then you need a palette cleanser. Then I need to write something really light and funny to get over the book, because the book is dark.
Right.
So it sort of seeps into you while writing it, and you live it. And it took me around 4 years to do this book. I was doing other stuff also, so I wouldn't say full time, beach, whatever. But I lived with this book for 4 years. So living with these characters for 4 years it does get to you. It does get to your psyche because it's a dark book. And there is no real resolution. In the sense, there is a beam of hope at the end of it, but there is still darkness, so that you don't know what is going to happen further in the lives of these characters. So in that sense, the catharsis is in getting their story out, not in my individual emotions while writing it.
So, if you could give your readers one key takeaway from this book, what would it be? One key takeaway.
I think believe in magic. Believe in the strangest things. Be open to strange happenings. Don't close your mind. Think like a child. Strangest things happen around us every day. But we're so focused on the prosaic and this cannot happen and that cannot happen that we ignore it. Just keep your mind open.
Absolutely. So, in the end, I have some few rapid fire questions. We have some flowers for you. Okay. One word to describe your writing style.
Intense.
Favorite book you have written so far?
Can I name two?
Yeah,
The
sure.
Reluctant Detective, which was my first book. It's a very funny place, and The Kitty Party Murders is a sequel to that. And The Face at the Window.
A book that you think you would have written, you wished you would have.
I wish I would have written David Michel's The Bone Clocks.
Okay. So, your go-to writing snack?
So I have a little box of trail mix on my writing desk. So that is constant and it's very fattening and not advisable.
Pen, paper, or laptop?
Neither computer. Desktop.
Okay. A character from your book that you relate the most? Any book?
Any book. I would say K. Mehra from The Reluctant Detective and The Kitty Party Murder. She's a suburban gated community housewife, mom, struggling to lose weight, with a 6-year-old who is a typhoon. So I think I lived through K. Mehra and then K. Mehra became a character in my book.
First draft, messy or structured?
Always messy. That's so fun.
Night owl or early bird writer?
I don't know night owls. No.
Okay. The best writing advice you ever received?
The best writing advice I ever received. I didn't personally receive it, but I read it from the greats. You get told, write what you know. And a very wise writer, I think it was Stephen King, who said, write what you do not know. Because if you only write what you know, how would you write about space travel? How would you write about ghosts? How would you write science fiction? How would you write so many wonderful things that are written? So feel free to, how do you write historical fiction? Write what you don't know.
A book you read?
Everything by P.G. Wodehouse.
One thing people don't know about you?
I have no life skills. I can't drive, I can't cook, I can't swim, I can't cycle. It's a miracle I'm alive. 0 life skills.
A word you overuse while writing?
Perhaps.
If not a writer, what would you be?
I think painter.
Oh, wow. Nice. Amazing. Which of your characters would you love to have a coffee with?
Which of my characters I would love to have coffee with? I think Mrs. McNally from The Face at the Window and Noor from The Moon.
I had it in my mind that would you like to have a coffee with Noor?
Yeah. So I don't know if you drink coffee, but
thank you so much. It was a wonderful conversation, and I think it was so straight from the heart, and everything was so not filtered that I'm sure people have a takeaway from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nidhi, for your very, very informed and empathetic questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiran ji, and thank you, Nidhi. Now, it's all yours. You can ask questions. Want to know something more about Kiran ji? Yes, a question from.
If you could get a chance to write a book with any of the author, dead or alive, what would be his or her name?
So you write about parenting, and in today's polarized climate, it is a very hot topic. Do you ever fear that sometime it will get you into hot waters? May not be today, maybe 10 years down the line.
I don't dare give parenting advice because I don't know how my son is going to turn out. You know, the Dr. Spock's kids, one of them died by suicide. So I think if, you know, he was not qualified to give parenting advice, and I am not at all. So my parenting books are just anecdotal. They're just funny reminiscences. I'm not saying, yeah, do this, do that, no. Every parent is different, every child is different.
Has your son started reading?
I wrote a book for him, A Boy's Guide to Growing Up, From Pimples to Pubes. He didn't touch it.
Because in one of your interviews you said we both are avid readers, but not as no.
So, you know, I keep hearing, like, if you want your kid to be a reader, you have to be a reader. You have to keep books in the house. This child tore every book I got. So, I mean, that advice doesn't work. I think kids are their own.
Yes.
Alright, so first of all, congratulations for this book. It's lovely to hear you out. So I was just curious, when you said this is the 17th book, so first I went to Amazon and I just looked at the list of all the books, and it was so amazing to see all the book covers, and I'm really curious, as we are also there would be many people who are also working on the book, writing on it or thinking of writing. So what is the purpose and what is the desire that pulls you up to write this book? And there are so many topics and genres you have chosen. So what is the inspiration or what is the purpose behind this?
I think I would say arrogance of thinking that somebody might want to read what I've read. But on a serious note, it's because I'm a storyteller. It's, you want to tell stories and you want to put stories out. And very often, you're a writer yourself, you're writing. When you have a story, then you just have to get it written. There's no two ways about it. You'll find the time and you'll get it done. You're doing 10,000 other things. But somehow you pull out the time and you do that. I can't say my purpose is to be a bestseller or my purpose is to win awards or my purpose is to be famous. So, no, I think that defeats the purpose of writing. The purpose is just at the end of the day to tell a story and hope that at least one person finds that story interesting. That's all.
Thank you so much.
I can see. Ma'am, I'm just putting a real question. I'm dealing with UG students, PG students, and also senior secondary students, as I'm a part of associating many deemed institutions. What I find, Dr. Nidhi may agree, last 5 to 10 years, you will find the new generation students, they are not having passionate to write, to read books. Obviously, it's a feel-good factors like such wonderful books. You have the aspiration, it certainly feel-good factors, everybody should read. But what is your suggestion to motivate the young students to read more and write more?
Distraction. There's so much distraction, and when I was growing up, books were our only entertainment. Doordarshan was there. That was it. And Doordarshan was like Krishi channel, agricultural channel, one Chitrahar, one Sunday movie. What was our motivation to read? Because we were bored, right? There was nothing to do. Today the kids have so much distraction. There's Netflix, there's Snapchat, there's Insta, there's TikTok. I mean, you don't have TikTok here. We ban TikTok. There's so much to distract them. Having said that, when there is something interesting enough that children will read, if you see the Harry Potter craze, children read that, right? Children read Harry Potter, children read Percy Jackson, children read Goosebumps, children read, what's the other? I mean, these are series, I mean, whatever they got famous or whatever, but they,
famous fight.
that was back then, yeah. I'm not talking, yeah. In current times, these are the books that the children have read. So the culture of reading you can't impose on a child. I would say if the child, like for instance, if there's a topic of interest, my son, I just said,
Yes.
I have to hold a gun to his head to get him to read. He's grown up now. But he's interested in WWE. So he's an encyclopedia on it. But books about WWE, he would read. So we're not saying, I would say it doesn't matter what they are reading, whether it is fiction, non-fiction, topic if it's on sports, if it's biographies of their favorite cricketers, if it's biographies of their favorite football player, whatever the topic is, whatever the area of interest, let it be. And what happens now, I may be wrong, we have educators here, but we have, when earlier it was just children's books and adults books. Now it is young adults, preteens, this, that, levels, grades. Let children read across grades. Let them just leave them loose in a bookstore and let them pick up what they want. Don't monitor and filter and try to tell them, no, this is too high for you or this is too below it. Whatever they choose, just I've been in bookstores and I've seen parents sort of trying to control what the child is picking up to buy. A child wants a certain book, no, don't read this, pick up something else. Just let the child read, it doesn't matter. Nobody is going to be or not to be a serial killer by reading anything. I read Jaws when I was in grade 5. It's okay. Just let the kids read whatever they want to read. I think the more we try to, censor and curtail whatever they're reading, the more they see reading as a chore rather than an enjoyment. So we have to make reading an enjoyment again, rather than like, okay, you have to read one book a week and this is the book you have to read this week. You padna hai padho, newspaper padna hai padho. There's enough rapes, murders, everything, fine. Explain to them what it is. But let them read. They will find something of interest to read within that also. So the more we try to mollycoddle them, I think the more they lose interest. Then it becomes a chore for them. Padhai ke liye bhi padna hai aur ye book bhi padna hai. Mommy is saying read this one book a week. I don't want to do that. I may be wrong, but that's just my take on it. But I'm not giving any advice because I've been a great failure in getting my kid to read, except for those WWE books and bodybuilding books. So he's read those and biographies. Andre Agassi and what's this one? Thorpe and all the sporting biographies he has read. That's an area of interest. Fiction he has not read. But whatever he has read, no problem.
Yes, and I remember I picked that book in the evening and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't put that book down. There was one book that I read through the night and I finished it. So it is all about your interest. Whatever you pick, and if it catches hold of your interest, then there's no looking back.
Another thing I want to bring up is what happens is now we've shifted all our purchasing to Amazon. And Amazon is an algorithm. The discoverability of books sort of gets cut down. You know that this book, this author, I'm going to go and buy just that. And it will show you others in that space. For kids, I think the best thing is to just take them to bookstore and let them loose in the shelves. Let them just roam free, pick up stuff, see what they like, and that's the only way to get them interested. Because when they personally pick up a book, they'll be more invested in reading it than something you ordered for them off Amazon.
Them and this is an amazing practice actually. So today morning only I was telling in my classroom like जितना भी इंटरनेट पर तुम पढ़ लो मोबाइल पर पढ़ लो लेकिन वो पुस्तक को पकड़ने उस कागज की खुशबू को महसूस करने और उसको पढ़ने का जो मजा है ना वो कभी आपके आईपैड्स या नहीं तो फिर आपका मोबाइल कभी भी नहीं ले सकता. सो किताब की वो महत्ता तो हमेशा है ही हमेशा से.
और एक बात और है कि जो रिटेंशन होता है ना वो प्रिंट से ज्यादा होता है.
Yes, that's very much true. So thank you so very much. As our enchanting evening draws to a close, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our distinguished author, Kiran ji. Thank you for sharing your time, insights, and stories. And believe me, you have inspired and so much of joy to listen to you. And Nidhi, you were wonderful in navigating the talk so well. Thank you so very much. And to our wonderful audience, your enthusiasm, your love for literature, and your support for the Right Circle Bhubaneswar is amazing. And thank you so very much. I extend my gratitude to the venue and hospitality partner Taj Vivanta, Ashirbad ji, and the whole team. And this is for the first time we are here, and believe me, अब हम बार बार यहीं पे और यहीं पे आना चाहेंगे. आपने इतना सुंदर माहौल और इतनी सारी खूबसूरत चीजें हमें दी हैं. बहुत बहुत आभार आपको. अब आपने जिस तरह से मेरी हिंदी के बारे में कहा है ना आशीर्वाद जी, आपको देखे तो अब हिंदी निकलेगी मेरे मुंह से. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And Prabha Khaitan Foundation is dedicated to foster cross-state culture understanding and appreciation. We champion local artisans and their unique creations, showcasing their craftsmanship as a gesture of gratitude to our patron and guests. In this context, we are pleased to felicitate with one such initiative, and that is we felicitate our guests with Leheriya stoles. Leheriya is a traditional style of tie-and-dye textile from Rajasthan. And now I would like to request and welcome Ratnamala Swain ji on the stage, and request her to felicitate author of today's evening, Kiran Manral ji.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. This is over. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, feel free to pick a copy of the author.